The station begins to change just after sunset, not suddenly, not in a dramatic way. It changes slowly, as if it is not fully sure it wants to become night yet. During the day, this place is loud. Trains come and go. People hurry. Shoes echo on the platform. Voices overlap and mix into one long noise. But now, most of that is gone. The sun has slipped behind distant buildings and trees. The sky turns a dull blue, then a deeper one. The station notices this and quietly adjusts. One by one, the lights turn on. They do not shine brightly. They hum. A soft electric sound. Not loud enough to be annoying. Just loud enough to remind you they exist. The lights spread across the platform in small circles, leaving long shadows in between. Nothing feels rushed anymore. The air cools. It is not cold. Just cooler than before. The kind of cool that makes you pull your jacket a little closer, even if you don't really need to. The smell of warm metal and old concrete lingers, mixed with something faintly dusty. The station smells like it always has. Like waiting. Most people have already left. A few benches sit empty, doing their job without complaint. They have held thousands of tired bodies over the years. Tonight, they get a break. A wrapper rolls slowly across the platform, pushed by a lazy breeze. It stops. Then moves again. It seems unsure where it wants to go. No one judges it. The digital clock above the platform ticks forward. The numbers change without celebration. No one claps for them. Time moves on anyway. It always does. At night, it just feels slower, as if time itself is walking instead of running. Far away, a bird makes a final sound before settling down. Somewhere closer, a vending machine hums to itself. It does this all night. It has snacks inside, but no one seems interested right now. The machine does not take it personally. It hums anyway. The tracks stretch into the darkness beyond the station. You cannot see where they go. They disappear like unfinished thoughts. The rails still hold a bit of warmth from the day. They slowly give it back to the air. No one is in a hurry to take it. A single worker walks across the platform. Their steps are slow and steady, no rush, no drama. They check something. Maybe nothing important. Maybe everything is fine, which is the best kind of problem. After a moment, they disappear again, leaving the station as quiet as before. This is the hour when the station feels like it belongs to itself. Not to schedules, not to crowds, just to the night. It has done this many times before. Sunset comes. People leave. Silence arrives. The station knows the routine well. It is very good at routines. A clock clicks. A light flickers once, then stays steady. Somewhere, a door closes gently. The sound echoes longer than it should, because there is nothing else to interrupt it. Silence stretches easily here. The platform signs stand still, pointing toward places that feel very far away at this hour. Cities, towns, destinations with names. Right now, they are just words on metal. They can wait. The sky darkens a little more. Stars try to show up, but the station lights do not really help them. A few manage to peek through anyway. They do not demand attention. They just exist. If you stand still long enough, you notice small things. The way the wind moves between pillars, the soft buzz of electricity, the faint ticking inside your own head as your thoughts slow down. Even your breathing seems louder here. The station does not mind. Nothing important happens. And that is exactly what makes this moment important. The station is resting, gathering itself, waiting for what comes next. It does not worry about it. It knows a train will come eventually. They always do. Until then, it simply stays. Calm, still, slightly bored, very patient. Time stretches again. The clock keeps moving, but it feels polite about it. No alarms, no announcements, just quiet progress. This is the station after sunset, empty, cooling, humming softly, a place where nothing rushes and nothing asks much of you. A place that lets the night arrive at its own speed. And for now, that is enough. The first sign of the night train is not the train itself, it is the sound. At first, it is so far away that it barely feels real, a low vibration, a distant hum, something between a whisper and a memory. If you are not paying attention, you might miss it completely. The station does not miss it. The station always knows. The sound slowly grows, not louder in a hurry, just closer. Like someone walking toward you but taking their time. The rails begin to feel it first. A quiet trembling that travels through the metal. The tracks have felt this many times before. They do not get excited. A small light appears far down the line. Just one. It looks unimpressive. It does not try to be dramatic. It simply exists and moves forward inch by inch. The night train is very patient. It has learned that arriving slowly is better than arriving loudly. The platform stays quiet. No crowd rushes forward. No one checks their watch every 2 seconds. The few people who are waiting stand where they are. Some sit, some lean, some stare into space. Everyone seems to agree that moving too much would be unnecessary. The light grows larger. The hum deepens. The sound of metal on metal becomes clearer. Not sharp, not harsh, just steady, like breathing, but for a very large machine. Then the shape of the train begins to form. Dark carriages slide out of the night. Windows glow softly, like tired eyes that are still awake but thinking about sleep. The train does not sparkle. It does not shine. It looks like it has already had a long day. The front of the train rolls into view. Heavy, calm, certain. It knows exactly where it is going. It has no doubts about the track beneath it. The station welcomes it without ceremony. This meeting has happened many times before. There is no need for introductions. As the train slows, the sound changes. The rhythm stretches. Wheels ease their grip. Brakes sigh, not loudly, but with a kind of gentle release. The train is not slamming into the night. It is settling into it. Air moves across the platform as the train passes by. A soft push, then stillness again. The smell changes slightly. Warm, metal, oil. The scent of long travel. It is not unpleasant. It is familiar. Carriage after carriage slides past. Windows show small pieces of life inside. A person looking down. Someone already asleep. A dim reading light. Nothing exciting. Nothing worth staring at for too long. Perfect. Finally, the train stops. Not suddenly. Not perfectly aligned at first. It makes a small adjustment, then another. A gentle shuffle, like someone finding a comfortable position before resting. Then it becomes still. The hum does not disappear. It lowers itself. The train keeps breathing. Machines always do. Silence is never total here, and that is a good thing. Total silence would feel strange. The doors remain closed for a moment. No rush. The train and the station take a second to acknowledge each other. The platform lights reflect softly off the metal sides. Shadows stretch and overlap. Then, with a quiet sound, the doors open. No dramatic hiss. No loud announcement. Just a calm mechanical movement. The inside of the train spills a little more light onto the platform. It is warm light. Tired light. Light that has seen many nights like this one. A few passengers step out, slowly, carefully, as if the ground might feel different at night. Their footsteps are muted. No one is in a hurry to be anywhere else. Those who leave disappear down the platform without sound. The train does not seem offended by their departure. It understands. People come and go. That is part of the arrangement. For a moment, nothing else happens. The doors stay open. The train waits. It is very good at waiting. It has practiced for years. The station remains calm. The clock keeps moving. The vending machine hums. Impressed by no one, the night train has arrived, but it does not announce itself. It does not demand attention. It simply exists on the platform, heavy and still, like it plans to stay forever, even though everyone knows it will leave again. If you listen closely, you can hear small sounds from inside: a bag shifting, a seat creaking, someone clearing their throat, then deciding not to. These sounds float out briefly, then fade. The outside world feels farther away now. The train creates its own small bubble of quiet. Even the night seems to lean in slightly, curious but respectful. This is not the kind of arrival that starts a story full of action. There are no sudden meetings, no urgent goodbyes, no last-minute running. If anyone ran right now, it would feel awkward and unnecessary. Everyone knows this. The night train has done exactly what it was supposed to do. It arrived. That is enough. It rests on the platform, lights glowing, engine humming, doors open but unbothered. A calm presence in the dark. A promise of motion that will come later. When the time feels right, for now it waits, and the station waits with it. Boarding begins quietly, so quietly that it almost feels like it is not happening at all. There is no announcement telling people to hurry, no voice echoing across the platform. The doors are open, and that seems to be enough information. People understand. They always do. The night train does not need to explain itself. One by one, passengers move toward the doors, not in a line that is perfectly straight, not in a rush. Just a loose understanding of order. Everyone seems to agree that standing too close would be unnecessary. Personal space feels larger at night. Shoes touch the platform with soft sounds. Each step is careful, as if the ground might complain if stepped on too loudly. Some people carry bags. Some carry nothing at all. A few carry more than they probably need, but no one comments on it. There are no conversations, no greetings, no goodbyes. If words exist here, they stay inside people's heads. A nod replaces a sentence. A small step aside replaces an apology. It works fine. Words would only slow things down. A passenger pauses near the door, checking a ticket under the light. The paper looks slightly tired. It has been folded and unfolded too many times. The ticket does not mind. It has one job left to do. Inside the train, the aisle waits patiently. The floor reflects a faint glow. The seats line up neatly, doing what seats do best. Waiting. They do not look exciting. That is good. Exciting seats would be suspicious. Someone steps inside and stops for a moment, unsure which direction to go, left or right, front or back. The decision feels important for about 2 seconds. Then it is made. The moment passes. Life continues. A bag is lifted into an overhead rack. Not smoothly at first. There is a small adjustment, a quiet struggle, then success. The bag rests above, proud but silent. No one applauds. Another passenger slides into a seat by the window. They sit down carefully, as if the seat might be fragile. It is not. It has held far worse. Still, the care is appreciated. Coats are adjusted. Sleeves are rolled down. Someone pulls a scarf closer around their neck. Even though the air is not that cold, it just feels right. Night has its own rules. The platform remains calm as people disappear into the train. The station watches without emotion. It has seen thousands of boardings. This one is especially quiet. The station approves. Inside, the train absorbs everyone gently. No loud footsteps, no sudden movements. The walls seem to soften sound on purpose. Even the smallest noises feel wrapped in cotton. A passenger looks around for their seat number. Their eyes move slowly, not because they are confused, but because moving fast would feel wrong. They find the number. It is exactly where it should be. That is comforting. Another person sits down and exhales, not a deep sigh, just a small release of air, the kind that says, "I am here now." The seat accepts this without comment. There is a rhythm to it all. Step, pause, seat, step, pause, seat. The pattern repeats. It could go on forever, and no one would complain. Repetition is calming. The night understands this. Someone brushes past another person in the aisle. It is unavoidable. Both pause for half a second. There is no apology spoken. None is needed. A shared understanding floats briefly between them, then disappears. The doors stay open. The train is not impatient. It does not tap its wheels or check the time. It knows everyone will find their place eventually. There is no prize for speed. Outside, the platform grows emptier. The shadows stretch longer. The lights hum steadily, proud of their consistency. The night deepens, but nothing feels heavy about it. Inside the carriage, movement slows as seats fill. People settle. Jackets come off. Then go back on. Decisions are reconsidered and quietly corrected. This is normal. A person places their bag at their feet, then moves it slightly to the side. Then slightly back again. The perfect position is found. It always takes longer than expected. Someone looks out the window at the platform. There is nothing interesting to see. They look anyway. Old habits are hard to break. A head leans back against the seat. Eyes close, then open again. Not yet. Soon, but not yet. The body needs a moment to catch up with the situation. No one checks their phone too eagerly. Screens glow briefly, then dim. Even notifications seem to understand the mood and stay quiet. Technology behaves itself for once. The air inside the train feels warmer than the platform. Not hot, just comfortable. Like a shared agreement that this is a place for slowing down. The last few passengers board. The doors remain open, patient to the end. One final person steps inside, pauses, and looks back at the platform for no clear reason. Then they turn and move down the aisle. The platform is almost empty now. It looks larger without people. The station seems to stretch and relax, like it has finished a long task. Inside the train, everything finds its place. People stop moving. Bags stop shifting. Seats stop creaking. The noise level drops to something barely noticeable. No one speaks. No one needs to. Everyone is aboard. The night train has accepted its passengers, quietly, calmly, without a single word, and that feels exactly right. The departure does not announce itself right away. It never does. For a moment, the train just sits there, full but quiet. Everyone is aboard. Everyone has found a seat, or at least accepted where they ended up. The doors remain closed now, but nothing feels locked in. It feels settled. Then something small changes. It is not movement at first. It is a feeling, a subtle shift, like when you lean back in a chair and realize you are more comfortable than before. The train seems to gather itself, not with effort, just with intention. The hum beneath the floor deepens slightly. Not louder, just fuller. The kind of sound you feel more than hear. The engine is awake, even if it has never really slept. Outside, the platform remains calm. The lights hum. The clock keeps ticking, proud of its steady progress. The station does not wave goodbye. It is not that kind of place. Inside the carriage, no one reacts right away. People do not look up suddenly or grip their seats. Most do not notice the exact moment when the train decides to move. That moment is polite enough not to draw attention to itself. Then the train begins to roll. At first, it is almost imaginary, a gentle pull forward, a suggestion of motion. The platform outside the window starts to drift, just slightly, like a picture being nudged to the side. The wheels begin their slow work. Metal meets metal. The sound is soft and familiar. A low rolling rhythm that has lulled countless people into sleep. The tracks welcome the movement. They were built for this. The station starts to slide away. Pillars move past the windows, one by one. The lights stretch into lines for a brief second, then return to their normal shape as they pass. Nothing dramatic happens. It is simply departure. Someone looks up, realizing the train is moving. They blink once, then look back down. Yes, this is happening. No further reaction is required. A bag shifts slightly at someone's feet. A cup vibrates, then settles. The train corrects itself gently, smoothing out the motion as it picks up a slow, steady pace. Outside, the platform edge passes by. The empty benches disappear into the dark. The station does not resist. It lets go easily. It knows it will see another train soon enough. The rhythm of the tracks begins to form, not fast, not slow, just right. A repeating pattern that does not ask to be analyzed. It simply exists. The sound fills the space without demanding attention. Inside, bodies adjust without thinking. Shoulders relax, backs sink into seats. The small tension that comes with standing or waiting begins to dissolve. The train is doing the work now. Someone exhales. Another person shifts their legs, finding a better position. These movements are quiet and instinctive, like settling into bed. The lights inside the carriage remain steady. No flickering, no sudden changes. Everything is reliable, and reliability feels very important at this hour. Outside the window, the station is almost gone now. Only a few lights remain visible, floating in the darkness like distant thoughts. Then they too slip away. The train continues forward, unbothered by the night around it. The world beyond the glass becomes darker, less detailed. Buildings give way to shadows. Streets turn into vague shapes. The train does not seem curious about any of it. The sound of the wheels becomes more regular as speed increases slightly, not enough to excite anyone, just enough to be comforting. The repetition smooths out thoughts, making them softer around the edges. Someone rests their head against the window. The glass is cool, not cold, just cool enough to feel refreshing. They keep their eyes open for a moment, watching darkness move past, then close them again. The aisle remains still. No one stands, no one walks. There is nothing to do right now except be carried forward. The train moves through a gentle curve. Bodies lean almost without noticing. The motion is so smooth it feels planned, like a slow dance everyone somehow knows. Far away, a signal light passes by, blinking once, then gone. The train acknowledges it and keeps going. There are many such signals in the night. Most of them are unremarkable. Inside, the air feels settled now. Warmer, quieter. The outside world feels farther away than it did a few minutes ago. The train has created its own small universe of seats, windows, and low sound. The night seems to press gently against the glass, but it does not intrude. It understands boundaries. The train does not hurry. It does not race the darkness or chase the morning. It moves at a pace that suggests it has all the time it needs. And for now, so does everyone inside. The station is fully behind them now, forgotten without effort. There is no nostalgia yet. That comes later, if at all. The journey has begun, but it does not feel like a beginning. It feels like a continuation of something calm and ordinary, as if the train was always meant to be moving like this. The wheels roll on, the rhythm settles in, The night opens ahead. The gentle departure is complete. Once the train is fully moving, something changes inside the carriage. Not suddenly, just enough to notice. The feeling of travel settles in, like a blanket placed gently over everyone at the same time. The outside world is now officially out there, and the inside of the train becomes its own small, quiet place. A moving room, a very long one. People begin to adjust, even though they already did this once. Settling is a process. It happens in stages. No one gets it right the first time. Someone shifts deeper into their seat, then slightly forward again. They test the backrest, lean left, then right. The seat listens patiently. It has done this dance before. A jacket comes off and is folded carefully, then unfolded, then placed beside the person. After a moment, it is picked up again and draped over their lap. This feels correct. For now, the overhead racks hold bags of all shapes and quiet ambitions. They creak softly as the train moves, reminding everyone that gravity is still working. Nothing falls. The racks are dependable, if a little tired. Curtains near the windows are pulled halfway, then adjusted a little more. Not fully closed, not fully open. The perfect balance between darkness and curiosity. The night outside does not offer much to see anyway. A small reading light clicks on above a seat. It glows gently, like it knows better than to be too bright. A book opens. A page turns. The sound is soft and satisfying. After a few minutes, the book remains open, but the page does not turn again. Someone places their phone face down on their lap. Another person checks the time, then checks it again for no clear reason. The numbers have not changed much. That is fine. Shoes slide forward slightly, stretching tired feet. A foot bumps into a bag, then retreats. Apologies stay unspoken. Everyone understands. The aisle is calm now. No more movement. It stretches down the carriage like a quiet hallway in a building where everyone is asleep. Even the air seems to move slower here. The lights hum gently overhead. Not loud, just enough to remind you they exist. They do not flicker or complain. They take their job seriously. Someone pulls a small blanket from a bag. It unfolds with care, like it might be embarrassed to be seen. The blanket settles over knees and legs, instantly improving the situation. Another passenger rests their head back and closes their eyes. Not to sleep, just to rest them. There is a difference. Their breathing slows slightly. The train approves. The seats line up in neat rows, each one almost identical to the next. This is comforting. No surprises, no strange designs, just seats doing exactly what seats are supposed to do. The windows reflect the inside of the carriage now more than the outside. Faces appear faintly in the glass, layered over darkness. People catch glimpses of themselves and look away again. No one needs that kind of reflection right now. A cup sits in a holder, trembling softly with the motion of the train. The liquid inside makes small, careful waves. It does not spill. It knows better. The sound of the wheels continues beneath everything. That steady rhythm, it has become part of the background, like a memory you are not actively thinking about but still feel. Someone clears their throat, then immediately regrets it. The sound feels louder than intended. They sit very still afterward, hoping no one noticed. No one did. The temperature inside the carriage finds a comfortable middle. Not warm enough to be sleepy. Not cool enough to be alert. A dangerous balance, really. A bag is pulled from under a seat and placed between someone's feet. Then nudged slightly to the side. Then nudged back. The perfect position is discovered by accident. The carriage feels full, but not crowded. Everyone has just enough space to exist without effort. Elbows behave themselves. Knees stay where they belong. A faint smell of fabric, metal, and something like old paper floats through the air. It is not unpleasant. It smells like travel, long, quiet travel. Someone yawns and tries to hide it. This only makes it more obvious. The yawn spreads, silently jumping from person to person. No one is immune. The train moves smoothly now, confident in its direction. It no longer needs to adjust itself. It knows the track, and the track knows it. Outside, darkness presses against the windows, but it feels far away. Inside, the carriage glows softly, like a place meant for waiting and resting. People stop adjusting, movements slow. Positions become final, or at least close enough. The settling is almost complete. A head leans against the window again, this time staying there. A pair of eyes closes and does not reopen. Someone else lowers their chin slightly, pretending not to drift. The carriage holds everyone gently. No demands, no instructions, just motion and quiet. This is the part of the journey where nothing needs to happen. And nothing does. Everyone is settled now. The train continues forward. The night deepens outside, and inside the carriage, calm takes its place. Once the passengers are settled, the train begins to show its true character. It is not the engine, or the lights, or even the people. It is the tracks. The rhythm of the tracks. The sound starts subtly. A soft metallic click, then another, then another. The rails repeat themselves over and over, almost like a quiet drum. Not fast, not urgent, just steady, perfectly steady. Some passengers notice immediately. They tilt their heads, listening. Others do not notice at all. For them, the sound merges with the hum of the train. It becomes part of everything, almost invisible, almost comforting. The pattern is hypnotic. Click, clack, click, clack. Sometimes the rhythm changes slightly, depending on a joint in the rail or a small curve ahead. But mostly it is consistent. Repetition builds a kind of trust. The tracks are honest. They tell no lies. They only click if you concentrate. You realize that the rhythm matches your own heartbeat after a few minutes. Maybe it always did. Maybe your heartbeat is adapting. Either way, you feel lighter, slower, ready to forget time itself. Some passengers tap lightly on the armrest, almost unconsciously, in sync with the wheels. A small smile appears. Maybe they are not even aware of it. Maybe they are. It does not matter. The train keeps rolling, indifferent but approving. Outside the window, the dark landscape slides by. The rhythm of the rails keeps time, making the movement less noticeable. Trees, poles, and distant lights pass like they are dancing to the same silent beat. The carriage itself seems to sway in gentle agreement. Not much, just enough to make you feel the motion. A cup on a tray wobbles slightly, then settles. Someone shifts in their seat. Their blanket moves with them. Even the overhead lights seem to flicker in sympathy, almost like they are listening too. The rhythm continues endlessly. No excitement, no abrupt stops. Just the same click-clack pattern that has lulled countless travelers before. It does not change for drama. It does not pause for attention. It simply is. Inside the carriage, small movements respond to the rhythm. A page turns, a scarf slides slightly, feet adjust. Even breathing seems to synchronize slower, calmer. The tracks control more than the train. They control the night. Sometimes, if you close your eyes, you might imagine the rhythm extending beyond the rails, into the countryside, into the empty towns, into the faraway hills. The click-clack becomes a heartbeat for the night itself. You wonder if the world outside notices it too. Probably not, and that is okay. Occasionally the sound changes slightly, a longer click, a soft shudder, a small bridge, a tiny bump. It is barely noticeable, but enough to remind you that you are moving. You are traveling, and traveling, even quietly, feels important. Passengers glance around briefly. They do not speak. No one needs to explain the sound. No one needs to ask. It is obvious, universally understood. The night train has a language, and you are hearing it. Someone yawns. Their yawn does not feel awkward here. The rhythm of the tracks welcomes it, like a friend noticing you need a rest. Another yawn follows, quieter. Soon, the train seems filled with the sound of breathing and sighs, all gently aligned with the metallic heartbeat outside. Even small distractions fade. The occasional shuffle of a bag, the faint cough, the hum of the lights overhead. None of it interrupts the rhythm. It is a master conductor. Everything else bows to it. If you reach out and touch the window, you feel vibrations, very small, almost like the train is whispering to you, encouraging you to relax. You do not have to move. You do not have to act. You only have to exist. Time becomes less certain. Minutes stretch. Hours feel like minutes. The rhythm of the tracks guides your attention away from schedules, deadlines, and worries. They do not exist here. They are reduced to mere ideas, distant and faint. The train curves slightly. The rhythm shifts a tiny bit, adjusting to the shape of the track. You notice it only if you are paying attention. Most of the time, you do not, and that is the point. Life does not demand observation right now. Observation can wait. The carriage feels like a separate world, moving inside a larger one. The rhythm of the tracks is the heartbeat of that world. Steady, predictable, safe, comforting. Even when small noises intrude, a bag sliding, a foot tapping, the rustle of a coat, they merge seamlessly. They are absorbed into the rhythm. Nothing feels jarring. Nothing feels urgent. The tracks keep time for everyone, and everyone follows, knowingly or unknowingly. The night outside seems to synchronize with the rhythm as well. Darkness flows past the windows in perfect timing. Shadows stretch and shrink, forming a gentle dance. The distant stars flicker like notes in a slow, endless melody. Some passengers close their eyes completely now. Others stare blankly at the passing dark, still listening. No one complains. No one questions. The rhythm is enough. It carries everyone forward without effort. For a moment, you realize you have stopped noticing yourself. The wheels, the rails, the carriage, they take you somewhere. You do not need to act, only to be. The night train does the rest. The rhythm continues, uninterrupted. Click-clack, click-clack. A soft, endless chant that binds the carriage together. You are part of it, whether you know it or not. A small smile appears on someone's face, maybe even yours. The train rolls on, the night stretches on, and the rhythm of the tracks never stops, never demands, only guides. It is simple, it is boring, and it is perfect. The train rolls on, carrying its quiet passengers through the dark. Outside, the world is not silent, but it behaves differently at night. Most towns are asleep now. Not every town, but enough that the stillness feels heavy and soft at the same time. The first town appears in the distance, just a cluster of dim lights, not bright, not urgent, just small points scattered over the darkness. The kind of lights that do not bother to call attention to themselves. Street lamps along empty roads, the occasional window showing a faint glow. People must be inside, somewhere, tucked into beds or quiet living rooms, perhaps reading or staring at walls. The train does not care. It moves steadily past. The platform of this town might have been bustling during the day. Now, it is nothing more than an empty strip of concrete. Benches are unoccupied, vending machines hum alone, and the clock keeps time for no one in particular. The train does not stop here. The passengers inside barely notice. Their eyes are fixed elsewhere, inside the carriage, on the dim reflections in the window, or on thoughts that are soft and unimportant. Each town that follows is similar. Some are smaller, barely more than a few houses along a road. Some are slightly bigger, but still the streets are empty. Occasionally, a light blinks in a window, possibly a television, possibly a nightlight, possibly someone who just cannot sleep. The train glides past without judgment. No one waves, no one watches. Night is private, and the train respects that. Inside, passengers look out the windows occasionally, not for excitement, not for entertainment, just to witness the quiet, to notice that the world keeps existing even when almost everyone is unaware. The towns feel like soft memories, ghostly snapshots that will disappear the moment you blink. The rhythm of the tracks continues underneath, grounding everything. Click, clack, click, clack. Wheels on rails. A hypnotic sound that makes the passing of towns feel slower than it actually is. Even when the train accelerates slightly, the sound keeps its calm pattern, guiding the night along with steady certainty. Shadows stretch across the windows as trees and fences pass. Sometimes a stray animal moves along the roadside, startled by the sound, only to vanish back into darkness. Birds, if any remain awake, are silent. The night owns this space now. The train is merely a visitor moving politely through it. Sometimes a faint road sign glows briefly under the carriage lights. It shows names and numbers that will mean nothing to the passengers in the dark. But the train acknowledges them anyway, as if nodding to the places it passes. No hurry, no interest beyond the acknowledgement. The journey continues. Inside, people adjust slightly, unconsciously reacting to the scenery outside. Legs stretch a little, hands rest on laps, blankets shift. Eyes watch faintly, then drift back to nothing. No conversation is necessary. The towns are too quiet to interrupt the mood. Occasionally, the train passes over a small bridge. The water below reflects dim lights from somewhere, possibly distant buildings, possibly stars. The reflection wavers as the train moves. It is mesmerizing in a subtle, hypnotic way. One might be tempted to stare too long, but the mind prefers the rhythm inside the wheels, the carriage, the soft hum of motion. The train does not announce its passage. There are no signals to passengers, no dramatic description, no reminders that they are moving through these towns. The movement itself is enough. Movement is always enough. Every now and then, the passengers notice something small, a flicker of light, a tree silhouetted against a dim sky, the faint glow of a window in the distance. They nod slightly to themselves, acknowledging that the world exists beyond their carriage, then return to the inside calm. The rhythm of the tracks pulls attention back every time. A cat might cross a distant alley. A lone car might drive slowly down an empty road. Neither interrupts the peace. They are simply part of the night tableau. The train observes without judgment. The passengers watch without expectation. The night continues. Even the towns themselves seem aware of the train's polite passage. There is no sudden noise, no flickering of lights, no alarms. The houses sleep. The streets rest. Even the clocks appear to move slower for a few seconds, as if watching the train move past. The journey stretches on. Town after town passes in quiet procession. No two towns are exactly alike, but all share the same fundamental silence. The train passes through them all with calm inevitability. Inside the carriage, some eyes close briefly. Some gaze lazily out the window. Hands rest on laps or armrests. No one hurries. The towns themselves seem to dictate the pace of the mind, slow, steady, reflective, gently boring. Exactly the way it should be. Passengers might notice small details, a flicker in a window, a distant light on a road, the shape of a tree. Then they notice the rhythm of the tracks again. Click-clack, click-clack. The sounds ground them, remind them of motion, of the journey. Nothing needs to happen. Everything is fine. Eventually, even the largest towns shrink into points of light in the distance. They fade behind the train. Darkness returns, more absolute than before, but not frightening, calm, protective, like a blanket pulled over the world. The train rolls on, carrying its quiet cargo through the endless night, and somewhere inside, every passenger drifts slightly further into peace. The towns are gone, but their slow passage has left a trace, a sense of continuity, of quiet observation, of movement without urgency. The night continues, the train continues, and the sleeping towns remain just behind, soft memories in the journey that moves on. Inside the carriage, life continues in small, measured ways. But there is one figure whose movement is steady, predictable, and quietly important. The conductor. The conductor is not in a hurry, never in a hurry. There is no drama here, no rushing, no sudden bursts of motion. Instead, the conductor walks slowly, deliberately, like someone performing a ritual they have practiced for years. Which, in a sense, they are. Each step is soft but precise, not loud enough to startle anyone, not soft enough to be unnoticed. A balance. The conductor moves down the aisle, their shoes making faint taps against the floor. It is a gentle percussion that blends into the rhythm of the tracks outside. Click, clack, click, clap, tap, tap, tap. A silent duet. Tickets are checked one by one. Each movement is almost ceremonial. Hand reaches out, ticket is taken, a quiet glance, then returned. No words. Or sometimes a polite murmured, "Thank you." Even the murmurs are soft, respectful of the calm atmosphere. Conversation is not necessary. The ritual is enough. The conductor glances at each passenger briefly, making sure everyone is accounted for. Not intrusive, not investigative, just acknowledging presence. Like a librarian scanning the room to make sure all books are in place. People nod occasionally or smile faintly. Some do not notice, none mind. The conductor does not take offense. A small pocket watch might click open, or a small device hum quietly in hand. The conductor checks it, not obsessively, just because it is part of the routine. Time matters here, but only as a gentle guide, not as a master. The night train has its own pace, and the conductor moves with it. A bag shifts in a seat nearby. The conductor notices, but only because it is polite to notice. A slight adjustment, a tiny nod, and the bag remains content. Nothing more is needed. The sound of the train continues around them. The click, clack of the tracks, the hum of lights, the faint rustle of blankets and coats, all part of the evening's symphony. The conductor moves within it, not disturbing the harmony, just adding a soft counterpoint of careful movement. Sometimes the conductor pauses, to check a window, to glance at a door, to adjust something tiny that no one else would notice. A small lever, a slightly tilted seat, a fold in the corner of a curtain. The passengers are unaware. The night appreciates the effort quietly. A passenger might look up, briefly startled to see the conductor there. But there is no reason for alarm. The conductor is calm, almost blending into the carriage itself, a moving part of the environment, not a disruptor. Like a shadow that takes shape only when you look closely, the rhythm of the tracks continues beneath all of this. Click, clack, click, clack, wheels rolling over steel, carrying not just people but a sense of steady order. The conductor moves in perfect alignment with it, steps timed, glances measured, presence noted but not demanding. Harmony maintained. Tickets are tucked back into pockets, papers smoothed over, pens clicked into place. Small gestures of care, repeated night after night. The conductor has done this routine countless times, and yet it does not feel mechanical. There is pride in quiet competence. No applause required. If a passenger sneezes, coughs, or shifts abruptly, the conductor does not flinch. The world inside the carriage has small disturbances, and that is acceptable. Even chaos has its place, as long as it is mild. The train moves on, life moves on, the conductor moves on. The carriage itself seems to acknowledge the conductor. The floor does not creak in complaint. Seats remain in place, bags stay settled, the lights above continue to hum. A quiet nod from the environment itself. The conductor's presence is important, but not dominant. It is subtle, appreciated silently. Occasionally, the conductor might pause to adjust a timetable, glance at a clipboard, or scribble a note. Nothing urgent, nothing loud. Just documentation of what is already well known. The night train's movements, its rhythm, its passengers, all of it fits neatly into a larger design. The conductor is simply part of that design, keeping track without fuss. The passengers relax further as the conductor moves along. The act of observing, checking, confirming does not disrupt the calm. In fact, it enhances it. The knowledge that someone is paying gentle attention allows the rest to drift a little more into ease, perhaps even sleep. A yawn spreads quietly across the carriage. The conductor notices, perhaps smiles faintly under their breath. Not mockery, not concern, just recognition. Everyone is human here, even the conductor. Doors creak softly as they move past. Curtains sway with a subtle breeze. The conductor adjusts, straightens, and continues down the aisle. Rhythm maintained. Patience exercised. Silence respected. Comfort ensured. The train continues to glide through the night, the towns and darkness sliding past the windows. The conductor moves with it, not leading, not pushing, but ensuring that everything flows as it should. A quiet guardian of the journey, invisible to those who do not pay attention, vital to those who do. Time feels slower now. The rhythmic sound of the tracks, the hum of the train, the small gestures of the conductor, it all blends into a gentle melody. Passengers drift further into calm, minds softening, bodies relaxing. Sleep becomes easier because everything is orderly and patient. The conductor, without fanfare, has facilitated this. And eventually, after a long walk down the aisle, checking tickets, glancing at windows, adjusting what needs adjusting, the conductor reaches the end of their route through this carriage. Not with a flourish, not with ceremony, just a small, satisfied nod to the night itself. The conductor's work is done for now. But the presence remains subtle, quiet, perfectly aligned with the rhythm of the tracks. The night train rolls on, carrying its passengers, and the conductor moves gently within, ensuring that calm, quiet order persists. Inside the carriage, most things are calm. The train moves steadily. The conductor has walked the aisle and returned to their quiet duties. But there are still passengers. People with small movements, small habits, almost invisible unless you look closely. A woman sits by the window, hands folded over a small bag. She adjusts it just slightly, then lets it rest. Her eyes are half closed, watching shadows move across the glass. Occasionally, she tilts her head as if the dark outside has whispered something worth noticing. Mostly, she does not look at anyone else. She barely notices them, and that is fine. A man across the aisle yawns softly, covering his mouth with a hand that trembles just a little from the chill of the night. His jacket slips slightly from his shoulders. He pulls it back carefully, then leans forward to rest his head lightly against the seat. He is almost asleep, but not fully. He breathes slowly. Almost everyone in this carriage breathes this way now, calmly, quietly, in sync with the motion of the train. Two friends sit together, but they are unusually quiet. A whisper here, a tiny laugh there. Not much, just enough to remind themselves that they exist, but not enough to disturb anyone else. They glance briefly out the window, then back at each other. One taps their finger against the edge of a book. The other nudges a bag into a slightly better position. And then it is over. Silence returns. A lone traveler shifts in their seat. They place a hand over a knee, adjust a blanket, and stare at a small notebook, barely scribbling anything. Perhaps a note, perhaps a doodle. Their pencil moves softly across the page. No one pays attention, and no one needs to. These minor acts of existence barely leave a trace, but they are part of the rhythm of the carriage. A small child sleeps across two seats, blanket tucked around shoulders, head tilted slightly sideways. A parent sits beside them, watching quietly, occasionally adjusting the blanket. They barely breathe loudly. The train itself seems to understand and moves with a lighter touch in that area. Wheels click softly as if tiptoeing past the sleeper. Some passengers fidget, not much, just tiny adjustments. A scarf slides a little. A foot moves slightly forward. A bag shifts on the floor. These minor events are absorbed by the train's constant hum. Nothing is jarring. Nothing is significant in the grand scheme. And that is exactly how it should be. People glance briefly at one another, but only for the smallest moment. Eyes meet, then look away. Heads tilt slightly. A faint nod, almost imperceptible. No one speaks. The carriage has adopted a mutual understanding. Words are unnecessary. Movements, small as they are enough. Someone reaches for a cup in the holder, lifts it, takes a small sip, and returns it. The liquid moves quietly, hardly disturbing anything. They breathe out slowly and settle again. It is a private ceremony that does not demand witnesses. A couple of passengers pull books from bags. The pages turn gently, soft sounds mingling with the click-clack rhythm of the rails. Someone else taps a finger on the seat armrest, perfectly aligned with the train's own pulse. Tiny noises, tiny movements, all carefully contained, all barely noticed. The seats themselves participate in this quiet ballet. Cushions adjust under bodies. Seatbacks creak almost imperceptibly as passengers shift slightly. Blankets move just enough to smooth wrinkles. Even the small hum of the lights above joins the chorus, blending perfectly. Outside, darkness continues to drift by. Occasionally a faint light in a distant window. Perhaps someone in a house is awake. Perhaps a single street lamp flickers. It does not matter. Inside, the carriage contains its own universe, and the passengers barely disturb it. Someone brushes against a bag on the floor, adjusts it, and moves their feet slightly. No apologies are necessary. Everyone understands the rules here. Small gestures, minor corrections, private movements. Barely noticed, barely significant. A passenger glances at the clock briefly, then looks away. They think of time passing, of schedules, of the distant future, but they do not act on it. They do not need to. The train, the tracks, the carriage, and the rhythm of movement are enough to keep time in check. Sometimes, someone shifts slightly in their seat and almost smiles at nothing. Perhaps remembering a quiet thought, perhaps just feeling the motion of the train beneath them. They do not laugh out loud. No one reacts, and no one needs to. The stillness allows such moments to exist without disturbance. Even when a foot accidentally touches another foot, it is minor. A shift, a slight withdrawal, a small acknowledgement. No fuss, no words, no drama. Just the carriage absorbing tiny disturbances like a soft pillow cushions ahead. Passengers sleep a little. They sit quietly. They fidget slightly. They sip quietly. They adjust, shift, and settle. All of these small actions happen in a delicate balance, barely noticeable, but somehow creating a communal rhythm. No one dominates. No one calls attention. Everyone exists in their own space, but the collective stillness binds them together. Almost like a secret understanding, we are all passengers, all part of this moving cocoon. Barely noticed, but all present, the train hums softly. Wheels click over the rails. The night outside continues its quiet march. Inside, passengers continue their small, private rituals, eyes close briefly, fingers tap gently. Pages turn. Bags slide slightly. Heads lean against windows. Blankets move. The conductor continues their quiet rounds somewhere ahead, unnoticed by most, but keeping the carriage steady. The train itself is aware, keeping its rhythm perfectly aligned, absorbing all the small motions without disturbance. And so the night carries on. The passengers barely noticed, yet fully part of the calm, moving quietly, living lightly, drifting towards sleep in harmony with the gentle, endless journey. The carriage is full of life, and almost none of it matters. And that is exactly how it should be. Somewhere between stations, the night feels heavier, not oppressive, just thicker, quieter, as if the darkness itself has settled more deeply around the train. The passengers barely notice the time passing. Clocks tick somewhere, but inside the carriage, minutes blend into each other. The world outside is nothing more than shadows and soft points of light. Street lamps flash briefly, distant windows glow faintly, and the occasional fence or tree passes in silence. Inside, the train hums gently. Click, clack, click, clack. The rhythm of the tracks guides everything. Even the passengers who are asleep or barely awake are carried along without effort. The movement is hypnotic, steady, unavoidable. A lone traveler shifts slightly in their seat. They adjust a blanket over their knees, pull a book closer, then realize they are too tired to read. They lean back, resting their head against the window, feeling the cool glass on their temple. Outside, darkness slides past. Inside, calm spreads over them. The lights inside the carriage glow softly, enough to see but not enough to demand attention. Shadows stretch across seats and aisles, creating shapes that move with the train but never intrude. The effect is gentle, almost meditative. A faint hum from the engine mixes with the sound of the wheels. The combined noises form a lullaby of metal and motion. No one needs words to understand it. The passengers do not speak. Even a cough or a small shuffle is absorbed seamlessly. Everything fits into the rhythm. Occasionally, a window shows something outside, a distant house, a small fence, or a lone tree. These glimpses are fleeting, barely noticeable. No one points them out. They simply exist and pass, like thoughts in a half-forgotten dream. A parent shifts slightly, adjusting their child's blanket. The child murmurs, turns over, then settles again. All is quiet. All is safe. The carriage itself seems to accommodate every small gesture with gentle compliance. Someone opens a water bottle softly, takes a small sip, and sets it back down. The motion is careful. The sound merges perfectly with the hum of the train, the click, clack of the tracks, and the faint rustle of blankets and coats. Even the tiniest noises are part of the symphony. The conductor moves quietly somewhere down the aisle, checking tickets, adjusting schedules, ensuring that everything flows. They pass without causing distraction, their presence acknowledged by none yet essential to all. The train continues forward, rhythmically, with certainty and calm. Outside, towns have long been left behind. Only stretches of fields, distant lights, or darkened roads appear briefly, then disappear. Time itself seems irrelevant here. The train is neither late nor early. It simply moves. Midnight feels more like a state of mind than an exact hour. Passengers glance around occasionally. Eyes meet briefly, then return to personal spaces. Everyone is aware, without speaking, that they share this journey silently. Strangers are companions in quiet, even if they remain unnoticed. The carriage is still, yet it is not empty of life. Breaths rise and fall gently. Small movements, adjusted blankets, shifting heads, stretching limbs occur quietly. Every action is subtle, polite, and absorbed by the larger rhythm. The train accommodates without interruption. A lone person gazes out a window. They focus on darkness, barely distinguishing shapes. They trace patterns of shadows on the ground, imagining stories for moments, then let them go. The rhythm of the tracks calls them back to awareness of motion, and they relax once more. Even the lights outside seem to participate in the journey. Occasionally, a flickering lamp or distant sign reflects briefly in a window, then disappears. It feels like the world outside is performing quietly for no audience except the passengers already present. The night is deep, unbroken, and steady. It presses softly against the train but does not intrude. Even the air feels heavier, calmer, more deliberate. Each breath taken inside the carriage matches the lull of the tracks, synchronizing with motion and silence. A faint sound, a page turning, a shoe shifting, a blanket rustling echoes softly. It does not disturb. Instead, it contributes. Every small noise, every tiny movement becomes part of the nighttime symphony, unnoticed but meaningful. Some passengers are asleep completely. Their heads lean on seats or windows, breathing slow and even. Some are awake, but their eyes are soft, unhurried. Everyone exists in this inn, between state neither here nor fully elsewhere, moving through space in a gentle limbo. The train glides over tracks, curves slightly, and passes invisible markers along the route. Click, clack, wheels on rails. The sound is constant, reliable, soothing. It reminds everyone that they are moving, traveling, part of a journey that continues whether observed or not. Time stretches. Midnight is neither start nor end. It is a marker for quiet, a frame in which the night and the train exist together. No one hurries. No one interrupts. The motion and the hum are enough. The passengers are barely noticed by the night, but they are fully part of it. The train carries them forward. Darkness surrounds. Calm dominates. Motion persists. Sleep may come. Thoughts drift. Breathing slows. Somewhere between stations, the world outside is forgotten, except for fleeting glimpses. The rhythm of the tracks, the soft lights, the gentle motions inside the carriage, they hold the universe for this brief moment. A private, shared, moving sanctuary. The night continues. The train continues. Passengers drift silently, carried forward in a quiet, endless journey. And midnight exists not as an hour, but as a feeling still, slow, perfectly ordinary, and perfectly comforting. The dark outside the window is not simply absence of light. It is a presence. Heavy, quiet, patient. It stretches beyond the reach of the train, beyond the reach of street lamps, houses, or the occasional flicker of a distant light. It waits. It watches. It flows past the window like a slow river. Passengers glance occasionally at the darkness, but rarely for long. There is nothing urgent out there, no sign demanding attention. The dark is polite, keeping itself mostly unseen. It does not intrude. It does not need to. Shapes drift by sometimes, trees bending slightly, fences stretching into lines, a distant road curving gently. They move almost imperceptibly, just enough to remind the passenger that the train is traveling through a real world. And yet, those shapes are softened, almost dreamlike, by the vast blackness that surrounds them. Inside, the hum of the train is steady. Click, clack, click, clack. It provides a counterpoint to the dark outside, a reassurance that movement continues even when visibility fades. The passenger's eyes often linger on the dark, but it is more about presence than observation. They are aware that something exists beyond the glass, even if it cannot be clearly seen. Sometimes the moon shows a faint glow through clouds, a silver smear across the night. For a brief moment, trees and fields are illuminated. Shadows deepen and stretch. Then the moon disappears again, leaving only black, only quiet, only the unbroken flow of the night. The passengers barely react, except for the occasional slight tilt of a head or a soft exhale. A lone animal, a fox perhaps, or a dog, might cross a faintly lit field. Its eyes glint for a brief moment. Then it vanishes. The passengers notice briefly, or perhaps only one does, but no one speaks. There is no need. The darkness absorbs and releases everything with perfect discretion. The dark outside seems alive in its own way. It flows past the window, wrapping itself around the train. No one inside feels trapped. No one feels confined. The carriage is safe. The passengers are enveloped by calm. The darkness waits outside, patient and non-intrusive. Occasionally, a distant light flickers, an abandoned lamp, a farmhouse window left on accidentally. It sparkles for a heartbeat before fading again into the infinite black. Small, polite reminders that the world exists far away, but does not demand the train's attention. The train moves steadily. Passengers adjust slightly in their seats. Blankets shift. Heads tilt back. Eyes close and reopen. Some stare into the dark, letting their minds wander. Others focus on a book, a notebook, a bag. Everyone adapts, creating a harmony with the motion and the darkness. The night outside has its own rhythm. Slower than the rhythm of the tracks, quieter than the hum of the engine. Trees move past only when the train demands it. Shadows lengthen and shrink with a subtle grace. Darkness is infinite, but here it is also finite. A corridor alongside the train, always moving, never rushing. A passenger presses a hand gently against the window, feeling the cool glass. They imagine the space beyond empty fields, hills, or forests that cannot be named. There is nothing threatening out there, nothing alarming. Just the quiet enormity of the night. Even small disturbances, the occasional bump of a wheel, the rustle of a bag, the tiny shuffle of a foot, blend seamlessly with the dark outside. Nothing interrupts the calm. The outside darkness does not judge. It does not react. It simply exists, vast and patient. Reflections appear faintly in the glass. Faces, hands, blankets, a cup on the tray. Sometimes a reflection seems more real than the night beyond. Passengers notice fleetingly, adjust, and return their attention to their thoughts, to the rhythm of the carriage, or simply to nothing at all. The dark outside the window changes slowly. Hills become flatter. Roads curve differently. Occasional lights appear and disappear. Shadows stretch across fields, sometimes taking on strange forms, but never enough to startle. The passengers adapt automatically, moving in harmony with the subtle changes. The carriage itself seems quieter in contrast to the infinite night. No one speaks. No one shuffles unnecessarily. Even the hum of the lights feels softer. The train feels like a private bubble within the endless dark. Passengers are cocooned, aware of the darkness without being overwhelmed. Time seems less important here. Outside the window, the darkness could be timeless. Inside, passengers feel their own rhythm slowing, in tune with the train, with the night, with the gentle motion beneath them. Breathing becomes slower, thoughts become softer. Calm takes over. The dark outside the window is patient. It is infinite yet contained. It waits without demanding. It drifts past without hurry. And the train, full of barely noticed passengers, moves alongside it. They do not need words to exist in harmony. They do not need action. They only need to be present. And so the night continues, silent, endless, calm. The dark outside remains. The train rolls forward. Passengers rest, drift, and exist quietly. The window separates two worlds, one moving, one vast and unmoving. Yet both are part of the same journey. And in this space, in this gentle motion, the darkness is not frightening. It is simply part of the story, the silent companion of a night train journey. The soft hum of machinery is everywhere on a night train. Not loud, not demanding, not mechanical in the harsh, industrial sense. It is gentle, constant, comforting. From the engine in the front, through the length of the carriages, the sound travels like a quiet river. It is steady, unbroken, unassuming. Click-clack of the tracks provides a rhythm, yes, but the hum of the machinery underpins everything, a subtle pulse that tells passengers the train is awake, aware, alive. Inside the carriage, passengers barely notice it consciously, but subconsciously it works on them. Breathing slows, thoughts soften, shoulders relax. There is no need to do anything. The hum does the work quietly. Sometimes it rises slightly when the train shifts gears, when a small incline is conquered, or when brakes adjust subtly. These variations are tiny, polite, never startling. The sound almost speaks to the passengers. Everything is functioning. Everything is as it should be. Nothing to worry about. A passenger might glance under a seat, curious about where the sound comes from. They might trace it to a vent, a panel, a slight vibration in the floor. Then they shrug and return to their own world. There is no rush. No need to understand it fully. The soft hum is enough even without explanation. Even objects in the carriage respond. Cups tremble slightly in holders. Blankets ripple gently. Pages of books vibrate as they rest on laps. The sound of the machinery is alive yet perfectly polite. It accommodates, adjusts, blends. Nothing is harsh or demanding. Passengers shift slightly in their seats, responding unconsciously. A head leans against the window. A foot taps once softly in time with the faintest pulse. Hands adjust blankets, bags, or books. Small movements that seem to exist for no reason other than harmony with the hum. The conductor walks past somewhere ahead. Their shoes make soft taps against the floor, blending seamlessly with the machinery's gentle song. Tickets are checked quietly, a small notebook scribbled in, a pen clicked softly. Every sound finds its place within the larger hum. Nothing is jarring. Nothing is out of place. Even the lights seem to join in. They hum faintly, low and steady, blending with the engine and the rails. The entire carriage feels like a single organism, alive in soft pulses, alive in motion, alive in sound. Passengers are part of it, even if they barely notice. Sometimes the hum carries a tiny vibration through the seats, a reminder of power under control. Passengers adjust slightly, not out of concern, but instinct. It is a gentle reassurance. The machinery works, the train moves, everything is safe. Outside, darkness stretches endlessly, but inside, the hum becomes a bridge. It connects passengers to the motion, to the tracks, to the journey itself. Click-clack of the rails provides rhythm. The soft hum provides life. The two together create calm, perfectly ordinary, perfectly reassuring. Passengers do not speak about it. They do not need to. The sound is understood on a level deeper than words. It is primal, comforting. A reminder that even in the stillness of night, something is moving, something is alive, something is reliable. Occasionally, a panel or vent emits a slightly different note, a minor variation in the hum. A passenger's gaze flickers toward it. Perhaps curiosity, perhaps acknowledgement. But the hum returns immediately to its soothing consistency. It never demands attention, but rewards it if noticed. Books are opened, blankets adjusted, heads rested on windows. Small movements merge with the hum. Feet tap, hands shift, pages flutter softly. Every tiny sound is embraced, absorbed, and softened by the gentle machinery beneath. Even those who sleep feel the hum. They breathe in rhythm with it, unconsciously, finding ease, finding calm. The pulse of the train works as a lullaby. There is no music, no melody, only consistency, only life moving in the dark, only motion made gentle. The train passes through empty stretches of countryside. Shadows glide past the windows. Trees and fences drift by like shapes in a dream. The hum persists, blending seamlessly with the night. Click, clack, soft vibration, soft hum. The passengers exist quietly in this soundscape, barely noticed, barely moving, fully present. Time becomes irrelevant. Passengers feel it pass, but only softly, only gently. The hum of machinery does not rush it. It does not control it. It accompanies it. Every sound, every vibration, every faint tremor from under the floor becomes part of a whole, a harmony of motion and sound. The train moves forward. The passengers move forward, even if only in spirit. The night stretches on, uninterrupted, infinite yet framed by the carriage. The hum of machinery carries life into the dark. It reminds passengers that they are traveling, but without urgency, that the train is alive, moving, caring, even if silently. And somewhere between the rails and the dark, between passengers and motion, the soft hum continues. Gentle, steady, calming. A quiet companion for those who are awake, and an invisible lullaby for those who drift towards sleep. The train moves. The night persists, and the soft hum of machinery holds everything together, perfectly ordinary, perfectly comforting. There are parts of the journey where the train seems to carry passengers through infinity. Not literally, of course, but it feels that way. Long stretches of nothing. Fields, forests, or open plains pass endlessly outside the window. The dark softens the edges of everything. Shapes blur, lines vanish. Time slows. For passengers, these stretches are peculiar. They are not boring in a harsh sense. They are calming, like staring at the ceiling of a quiet room and realizing nothing is pressing, nothing is demanding. The world outside stretches and folds gently, but never intrudes. The train continues to move with quiet determination. Click, clack, wheels on rails, perfectly consistent. The rhythm becomes part of the experience, guiding the passengers through these vast stretches of nothing. There is no rush, no excitement, just motion and presence. Inside, the carriage is unchanged. Seats, blankets, books, and people all maintain their calm existence. Heads lean against windows, feet shift slightly, hands rest, eyes close, eyes open. Small adjustments, soft movements, barely noticed, perfectly aligned with the unbroken expanse outside. Sometimes, a distant light appears briefly. Perhaps a farmhouse, perhaps a lone street lamp. It glimmers, then disappears into the darkness. It is polite, almost shy, offering only the smallest interruption to the monotony of nothingness. Passengers barely react. They do not need to. The stretches are long enough that passengers start to lose track of exact time. Minutes and hours blend. A sense of timelessness settles over the carriage. Not oppressive, not disorienting, just soft, gentle, unavoidable. The train becomes the world, and the world outside is merely passing scenery, a backdrop for quiet existence. Small things take on significance in these moments. A rustle of a blanket, a faint tap of a finger on the armrest, a page turning in a book. These minor noises anchor the passengers in the present, preventing complete dissolution into the calm vastness. Everything feels amplified, yet nothing intrudes. Some passengers close their eyes fully. Sleep comes slowly, carried by the motion, the rhythm, and the silence. Others stare into the dark, imagining shapes, stories, or distant memories. No one disturbs anyone else. The carriage holds them gently, like a soft, patient caretaker. Even the lights above, gentle and unassuming, seem to understand the importance of these stretches. They glow just enough to provide comfort. They do not insist on visibility. They provide presence, not attention. Shadows stretch along the aisle, shifting softly as the train glides forward. The conductor passes quietly somewhere along the carriage. Shoes tap lightly. Tickets are checked in soft movements. Even this presence blends seamlessly with the emptiness outside, reinforcing the calm. Nothing startles, nothing distracts. The long stretches of nothing are uninterrupted yet carefully observed. Outside, the scenery is minimal. Trees thin out, roads vanish, fences end, hills flatten. Fields extend like blankets under the faint moonlight. Occasionally, the train passes a small pond or a distant structure, briefly illuminating a corner of the endless nothing. Then it is gone. Passengers respond to this gentle monotony in small ways. A hand adjusts a blanket, a foot shifts slightly, a head tilts lazily. Even small gestures feel meaningful, marking presence in the quiet infinity of the night. Some close their notebooks. Some open them. Some sip quietly from water bottles. None of it matters outside, but inside. Every minor action contributes to the rhythm of the carriage. Movement, no matter how small, punctuates the vast stretches of emptiness. The dark outside stretches endlessly. The train rolls steadily. Click-clack, click-clack. The sound of the wheels on rails becomes the true measure of distance and time. Passengers lose themselves to it, finding comfort in the repetition. The emptiness outside becomes less daunting and more meditative. Even thoughts slow down. Urgency, worry, and expectation dissolve into the long stretches of nothing. Consciousness drifts. Memories rise softly and fade. Imaginations wander gently without pressing demands. The train's motion and the silence outside cradle the mind. Eventually, the stretches of nothing end, or, more accurately, they change into slightly different stretches of almost nothing. Trees might become denser, hills might rise, fences might reappear. But the effect is subtle, the passengers barely notice. The rhythm and calm persist. In these long stretches, the train is more than transportation. It is a moving sanctuary, a cocoon of quiet and motion. Passengers exist without interruption, without urgency. They do not need much, because nothingness outside allows presence inside to flourish, and so the night continues. The train continues. Click-clack, click-clack. Wheels roll over rails, carrying passengers through long stretches of nothing. Nothing is heavy, nothing is empty, nothing is perfect. Everything is calm, everything is ordinary, and everything is exactly as it should be. As the train glides forward, the soft hum of machinery and the rhythm of the tracks create a perfect lullaby. Passengers are no longer focused on outside lights or fleeting shapes. The night, the motion, and the carriage itself combine into a gentle force that encourages sleep. Some passengers close their eyes willingly, others remain half awake, drifting in the calm. The transition is subtle. No one notices the exact moment they stop thinking. Consciousness slows. The world, both inside and outside the carriage, becomes soft edges and shadows. Blankets are tucked closer. Heads lean against windows or armrests. Feet stretch just enough for comfort. Even the smallest movements are deliberate, part of the routine of settling into stillness. The train accommodates every gesture, every adjustment, every sigh. The click-clack of the rails continues, constant, predictable. It becomes a heartbeat, not mechanical but natural. Each passenger, knowingly or unknowingly, aligns their own breathing with it. Inhale, exhale, clack, calm, quiet. A yawn spreads quietly across the carriage, unspoken and unjudged. It is contagious. Other passengers follow, softly, politely. Even those awake cannot resist. Sleep is starting to weave its gentle net, drawing them in. Occasionally, a small shift occurs. A bag slides, a foot nudges the floor, a blanket crinkles. None of these disturbances matter. The carriage absorbs them. The night outside continues its slow passage. Sleep continues to spread. Passengers surrender to the gentle motion. Heads nod, sometimes catching themselves before a deep lean. Eyes flutter, then close. Hands rest on laps or on books or on the armrest. Breathing becomes slower, steadier. The body follows what the mind has already accepted. Rest is safe, and the journey will continue regardless. Even those who have been awake, alert, or restless feel the pull. The combination of darkness, gentle hum, soft vibrations, and quiet passengers becomes irresistible. Sleep is not forced. It is welcomed. It arrives as naturally as the night itself. Small movements, stretching, adjusting, sighing, slow down. Feet stop tapping. Fingers unclench. Blankets settle into their own folds. The carriage becomes almost motionless, despite the constant forward glide. The passengers exist in suspended calm, balanced between the soft hum of machinery and the gentle pull of gravity. The conductor continues quietly in the distance, unobtrusive. Steps are soft, movements deliberate. Tickets are checked gently, notes made without disturbance. Even this routine contributes to the serenity. Presence is felt but never intrusive. Comfort is maintained. Outside, darkness remains vast, infinite, patient. Occasionally, a distant light appears, but it fades without demand. The empty world complements the quiet inside. Shadows pass briefly across windows, unnoticed except for the occasional drift of eyelids. A few passengers shift slightly in their sleep. A head tilts, a hand rises briefly, then returns to rest. Even in these minor disturbances, the rhythm of the train maintains harmony. Click-clack, click-clack, hum motion, calm, all synchronized. The carriage itself seems to breathe with its passengers. The hum, the lights, the gentle sway, everything works together to create a cocoon of rest. The train carries bodies and minds effortlessly, supporting sleep without force or urgency. Dreams begin slowly, not vivid or urgent, merely gentle impressions, soft images, quiet thoughts. A memory drifts in. A forgotten story surfaces. A fleeting idea appears, then dissolves. The passengers experience a private night of slow, uncomplicated drifting. Even those who struggle with sleep feel it tugging at the edges of awareness. Resistance fades, eyes close, breathing deepens. A calm wave passes through each body, softening tension and thought. The night has claimed its share, quietly, efficiently, kindly. Some passengers remain awake just enough to observe the carriage settling into this collective sleep. They notice small signs: a yawn, a stretch, a shift in blankets. Yet even in observation, they feel the pull. Consciousness drifts, aligning with the rhythm of the train and the softness of the night. Outside, the world continues. Trees, fields, fences, and distant lights slide past unnoticed. The darkness is steady, infinite, patient. The train carries its passengers through it all, offering rest, calm, and gentle motion. The combination of rails, hum, darkness, and quiet creates a perfect environment. Sleep comes naturally. It arrives softly, without demand, without urgency. Passengers surrender. The carriage is filled with soft breathing, gentle shifts, and a stillness that feels rare and precious. And so the train moves forward through the night, carrying those who sleep naturally, those who are drifting towards sleep, and those barely awake. The world outside is dark. The carriage is calm. Sleep is present. The night continues. The train continues. And in the gentle rhythm of the rails, the soft hum of machinery, and the quiet presence of fellow passengers, sleep comes naturally. The train slows gently, not abruptly, not startlingly, just a soft deceleration, like a sigh, announcing a stop somewhere in the night. Passengers stir slightly, half asleep, half aware. Heads lift from windows. Hands adjust blankets. Eyes blink slowly. The carriage feels a gentle shift, the subtle pressure of motion changing as the train eases to rest. Outside the window, darkness stretches still. But now there are signs of life: a dimly lit platform, a faint hum from a distant lamp, perhaps a solitary figure moving in the shadows. The stop is quiet, polite, almost secretive. The night does not demand attention. Neither does the train. Some passengers shift in their seats, stretching lightly, adjusting bags or smoothing blankets. Small movements that are almost ceremonial, as if acknowledging the pause without disturbing the calm. The train absorbs these gestures, holding everything steady, gentle, predictable. The conductor walks down the aisle with the same quiet diligence. Steps are soft, measured. Tickets are checked again. A notebook is scribbled in. Nothing urgent, nothing sudden. The routine carries a reassurance even during a stop. The world remains orderly. Outside, the platform seems to emerge from the darkness reluctantly. Benches, lamps, and signs appear like ghosts, only visible when the train is close enough to acknowledge them. The light glows softly, spreading just enough illumination to mark the presence of the station without demanding notice. A faint breeze drifts through a small opening in a door, rustling a curtain slightly. The passengers barely notice. It is part of the night, part of the journey, barely significant yet strangely comforting. The train pauses just long enough to feel still, but not long enough to create impatience. Time here is flexible, measured differently. The pause is not for hurry or schedule, it is a pause for balance. A brief interlude in the continuous journey, gentle and unobtrusive. A few passengers look out the window. Shadows shift across the platform. A distant signal light blinks once. Someone might see it and wonder briefly about the next stretch of track, or perhaps the people who live near this quiet station. The curiosity is soft, private, unobtrusive. Inside, the train hums faintly, the machinery never truly silent. The vibration continues through the floors and seats, soft reassurance that motion and life remain beneath the surface. Passengers feel it. Some drift closer to sleep, some stretch slightly. All remain calm, even small movements, the shifting of a foot, a minor adjustment of a blanket, a gentle stretch of a hand feel amplified in the pause. The stillness makes tiny gestures noticeable, but not disturbing. It is part of the rhythm, part of the dance of calm that carries the passengers through the night. A distant sound reaches the platform, perhaps a bird, perhaps the faint clatter of tools from a nearby shed, perhaps only imagination. It is brief, polite, unintrusive. Inside, passengers barely register it, but the quiet adds texture to the pause, a reminder that the night exists beyond the train as well. The conductor glances out the window momentarily, checking signals or the tracks. Steps continue softly along the aisle. There is no hurry. The pause is for nothing urgent. The world simply waits politely, observing without pressing. Some passengers lean lightly against windows, watching shadows stretch across the platform. Others close their eyes again, surrendering to the gentle lull of the paused motion. The train has stopped, but the rhythm of the night continues hum, breath, vibration, calm. Even the lights inside seem softer during the stop. Perhaps they are unchanged, but the mind notices differently when the world outside is still. The glow feels warm, gentle, protective. Shadows stretch across the aisle, pooling softly where no one disturbs them. After a few minutes, almost imperceptibly, the train begins to move again. The soft acceleration mirrors the previous deceleration, gradual, gentle, calm. Passengers adjust again, leaning back, smoothing blankets, stretching lightly. The stop is over. The journey continues, as quietly as it began. Outside, the platform fades back into darkness. Shadows merge with the night, lights disappear. The world returns to its continuous, patient flow. Inside, the carriage returns fully to the rhythm, click, clack, hum, soft motion, calm breathing, barely noticeable movements. The brief stop becomes a memory, barely registered, yet it matters. It punctuates the night in a subtle way, reminding passengers that time exists, that motion can pause, that the world outside continues, yet does not demand attention. Passengers settle again. Heads lean against windows. Feet stretch comfortably. Blankets adjust. Breathing slows. The soft hum of machinery resumes its full presence. Click, clack on the rails restores the gentle rhythm. The carriage feels whole once more. The night train continues. The world outside slides past. Passengers sleep lightly, breathe softly, and drift gently through the hours. A brief stop in the night, barely noticed, perfectly ordinary, quietly essential. The night deepens, yet the train moves steadily, quietly, without urgency. Passengers are aware, in a soft way, that the journey is nearing its end. Not in a hurried, anxious sense, just a gentle understanding, a subtle shift in awareness. Approaching the final hours, the carriage feels heavier in calm. Not with worry, not with restlessness, but with the soft weight of time. The long stretches of track behind them are gone, and the stretches ahead are fewer, finite. The night has been measured, slow, almost endless. Now the final hours are quietly noticeable. Passengers adjust themselves gently. Heads lean against windows or armrests. Blankets are tucked more carefully. Small gestures, almost automatic, as though preparing the body and mind for transition. Sleep comes naturally, but even sleep is aware that change is near. Click, clack, click, clack. The rails maintain their rhythm. The soft hum of machinery persists. Everything moves forward, steady and reliable. The sound becomes a subtle marker of time, reminding passengers that the end is approaching, even without needing to announce it. Some passengers stir slightly, stretching arms or rolling shoulders. Others turn in their seats, adjusting positions that have held them comfortably for hours. Each motion is small, careful, part of a natural response to the slow realization that the journey is nearing completion. The conductor moves down the aisle with familiar precision. Tickets checked, notebooks scribbled in, steps soft and deliberate. Even their presence takes on a slightly different feeling now, closer to an acknowledgement that the night is moving toward its conclusion, without urgency, without disruption. Outside, darkness remains vast, but it begins to hint at something beyond. Perhaps distant lights of early morning, or the faintest tint in the sky. Shapes that were indistinct hours ago are subtly clearer. The world is preparing to meet the train as it nears its destination. Passengers glance softly out the windows, noticing for a moment the difference in the night. Trees and fences appear familiar now, or at least recognizable. The distance traveled seems longer in reflection, yet easier to comprehend. Memory of earlier stretches blends with the current rhythm, creating a gentle narrative of the journey. Even the smallest sounds become noticeable. A cup on a tray shifts slightly, a blanket crinkles, pages turn slowly. These sounds, once barely registered, now mark the passage of time, aligning the passengers with the train's subtle progression toward the end. Sleep persists for many. Heads nod lightly, breathing slows. Dreams drift like shadows outside the windows. For some, the near end of the journey is irrelevant. They are carried forward effortlessly, in quiet trust of the night and the motion beneath them. The carriage itself seems aware of the approaching hours. Movement is minimized. Shadows lengthen and soften. Even the hum of machinery takes on a slightly gentler presence, as though acknowledging that the journey is winding down. Comfort is maintained without need for attention. A few passengers open eyes briefly, watching the familiar pattern of the seats, the aisle, the distant conductor. They do not speak, they do not need to. Observation itself becomes a calm acknowledgement of transition, an acceptance that the night and the train have carried them safely through the darkness. Outside, fleeting lights appear now and then. A farmhouse, a signal, a distant road. These glimpses are small reminders of the approaching morning, without intrusion or rush. Passengers notice them quietly, letting the light blend with the darkness, enhancing the sense of passage rather than interruption. Even minor movements within the carriage feel amplified. Stretching, shifting, sighing, they are subtle signals of readiness. almost unconscious preparation for the eventual awakening that will come with the final hours. Yet, the calm remains unbroken. The train carries all smoothly. Thoughts become softer, more reflective. Memories of the journey, of previous nights, of ordinary days at home drift through the mind. There is no pressure, no urgency. The mind floats gently along the rails, accompanied by the soft rhythm of motion and hum. Passengers who remain awake do so quietly, aware that these hours are final, yet without needing to rush. Conversations are unnecessary, movement is minimal, eyes rest lightly on distant shapes. Fingers trace small patterns on blankets or books. The quiet is profound, time becomes almost irrelevant. It is measured not in minutes or miles, but in motion, hum, and breath. Click-clack, soft vibration, gentle hum. Passengers are carried forward, moving through night and approaching dawn without awareness of exact measurement. Only the soft knowledge that the end is near. The train continues. The night continues. Passengers drift, dream, and exist in calm anticipation of the journey's final hours. Everything is ordinary. Everything is slow. Everything is perfectly comfortable. And so, as the night stretches toward its end, the final hours arrive not with fanfare, but with quiet, patient inevitability. Somewhere in the distance, the night begins to shift. It is subtle, almost imperceptible. A soft glow hints at a new day. The darkness outside the window lightens ever so slightly, not enough to wake passengers yet, but enough to signal that time has moved quietly forward. The train rolls steadily. Click, clack, click, clack. The hum of the machinery persists, calm and constant, blending with the subtle changes outside. Even passengers half asleep notice the difference, though they do not fully awaken. Eyes flutter briefly. Heads tilt. Blankets are adjusted with a faint awareness. Shadows that dominated the carriage all night become softer, lighter. Shapes that were once indistinct now have a faint outline. Trees, fences, and fields appear slowly as the first hints of morning touch the horizon. Passengers remain quiet, barely reacting, as though the world outside is a private spectacle meant only for observation, not engagement. A faint breeze enters through a slightly opened window, carrying the cool freshness of early morning. Curtains sway gently, blankets rustle. The sound is minimal, almost polite, blending seamlessly with the train's hum. Passengers barely notice. Yet the body responds instinctively, stretching lightly, shifting just enough to breathe more comfortably. The first birds begin to stir somewhere outside. Their faint calls punctuate the quiet night, growing gradually louder as the train continues its journey. It is an unusual chorus after hours of stillness, but it does not startle. Instead, it adds a gentle rhythm, a new layer to the familiar hum, and click, clack. Some passengers crack open an eye or two, noticing the soft light. The darkness that has dominated for hours now has subtle hints of pale orange, faint pink, a promise of the day to come. The night has not ended suddenly, it has eased out gently, without fuss or drama. A small child stirs slightly, pulling a blanket closer. A parent adjusts the cover, noticing the faint light in the carriage. They do not speak, no one speaks. The calm persists. The soft signs of morning are observed quietly, without urgency, without intrusion, Outside, a distant farmhouse flickers as a light turns on. A faint road glimmers under early dew. The world is waking gradually, respecting the train's gentle passage through time and space. Passengers notice these things lightly, almost subconsciously, without breaking the calm they have carried all night. Even minor movements inside the carriage seem amplified by the changing light. A hand shifts a blanket, a page turns in a notebook, feet stretch lazily, heads lean again against windows or armrests. Small gestures, almost ritualistic, synchronized with the world's gradual awakening. The conductor moves down the aisle quietly, aware of the subtle shift. Tickets are checked softly, notes are scribbled in, steps remain gentle. Even this routine takes on a lighter, more relaxed pace, blending with the faint promise of morning. The rhythm of the tracks seems to adjust subtly. The familiar click-clack continues, but it feels lighter somehow. The train's hum blends with the early bird calls and distant glimmers of light. Together, these sounds create a harmonious transition from night to day, soothing and steady. Passengers who have been awake for hours now notice the soft change fully. Eyes open more, heads tilt to follow shadows shifting outside. There is no rush, no announcement, no sudden intrusion. Just the gradual unveiling of day, soft, polite, and calm. The dark outside diminishes slowly. Shapes that were long hidden now show their outlines. Trees and fences become visible, but the light is still soft, delicate. It is not morning in full bloom yet, just the first whispers, tentative and gentle. Even the hum of machinery feels different, more attuned to the softer tones of the early day. The train itself seems aware, adjusting imperceptibly, maintaining the calm as passengers notice the shift. Sleep and wakefulness blend, creating a quiet harmony between movement and stillness. Some passengers remain asleep, blissfully unaware of the first signs of morning. Their breathing is slow and even. Dreams drift lightly in tandem with the soft light, carrying remnants of the night into the approaching day. The world outside continues its quiet emergence. Distant hills catch a faint glow. Dew glimmers on fields and fences. The train continues to move steadily, carrying passengers through this transitional hour without rush, without disruption. Even small sounds, rustling blankets, shifting seats, soft murmurs, blend perfectly with the morning's first signs. The carriage feels alive yet peaceful, full of life yet calm. Passengers move, breathe, dream, and observe without breaking the spell. The first signs of morning are gentle. They do not announce themselves. They arrive quietly, gradually, like the slow turning of a page in a long, unhurried book. Passengers notice only just enough to feel the world changing, and yet they remain comfortably cocooned within the carriage. The night is leaving. The day is approaching. The train continues, and passengers exist in that perfect inn, between half awake, half dreaming, fully calm. The train slows gradually. Click-clack, click-clack. The familiar rhythm softens as the final moments of the journey approach. The night has stretched and ebbed. The first hints of morning have come and gone. Now everything draws quietly to a close. Passengers shift slightly. Heads tilt against windows, blankets are adjusted one last time, and small sighs accompany movements as they prepare for arrival. No one is hurried. No one is anxious. The train has carried them safely through the night, and now it is time to return to the world beyond the carriage. Outside, the landscape becomes clearer, though still soft in the early light. Fences, trees, and fields are now fully visible. The familiar countryside drifts past, calm and ordinary. No dramatic vistas, no sudden surprises, just the quiet, steady world that has existed alongside the passenger's journey. The conductor moves through the carriage one last time, checking tickets and making small notes. Every movement is precise but gentle. Even in this final act, there is no urgency, no loud announcement, just quiet diligence. Passengers begin to gather their belongings slowly. Bags are lifted, blankets folded, and small adjustments are made to prepare for departure. Movements are deliberate but unhurried. Everything feels natural, measured, comfortable. The soft hum of machinery continues, now mingling with the faint changes in light. Outside, birds call lightly. The wind shifts across fields. The air seems fresher, more open. The world awaits, patient outside the carriage walls. Some passengers remain seated a little longer, savouring the calm. Perhaps it is the final stretch of solitude, the last quiet moments before stepping into the ordinary bustle of morning. They breathe slowly, feel the subtle vibrations of the train, and let themselves exist in these unremarkable but comforting moments. No one speaks much. Small murmurs are exchanged, polite and minimal. A child might stir, a parent might adjust a blanket, but nothing disrupts the calm. Even the smallest gestures feel significant because of their gentle subtlety. Outside, the destination appears slowly, without drama. The station is ordinary, just a platform, a few lights, and the usual signs. There is nothing remarkable about it. Yet, after hours of travelling through night, darkness, and soft hums, it feels like the natural conclusion of the journey. Passengers glance briefly at one another, almost unconsciously acknowledging that the journey is ending. No farewells are necessary. No words are needed. The shared experience of the night, of motion and quiet, has already spoken louder than conversation ever could. The train glides to a gentle stop. Click-clack fades into stillness. The hum softens and finally settles. The carriage is calm, emptying slowly as passengers prepare to step into the ordinary world again. Every movement is unhurried, polite, deliberate. Some pause at the doors, taking one last look at the interior that has been their cocoon through the night. Seats, blankets, shadows, faint lights, they all hold the memory of calm, rhythm, and soft motion. It is a world apart from the bustling morning waiting outside, yet perfectly ordinary in its existence. Even as passengers step off, the train does not rush. It waits patiently, its machinery humming softly, its motion paused but ready. The tracks stretch on beyond the platform, continuing their quiet path. Indifferent to the passenger's departure, the night has ended. The journey has concluded. And yet, the ending is unremarkable. No fanfare, no sudden realization, no dramatic finale. Just the slow, calm cessation of motion and the gentle merging with the ordinary day. Passengers walk into the morning quietly. Blankets are folded, bags are carried, feet move steadily, breaths are soft. The world outside continues ordinary, patient, and unhurried. Some glance back briefly, catching a hint of the carriage through the window. The memory of the night train lingers softly in the mind, not as a story of excitement or drama, but as a quiet companion of calm, rhythm, and gentle motion. The train stands ready for the next journey. The passengers are now part of the ordinary world again. Nothing remarkable happened at the end, yet everything feels complete. Calm, quiet, steady, the ordinary perfection of a night well spent. And so, the unremarkable ending is exactly what it should be: soft, slow, comforting. The train has delivered its passengers safely through night, sleep, and silence, and everything quietly continues onward.